Hey, Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome to a Saving Your Disaster file. Now, this email comes from HD. Hey, Potato, so this is a disaster save I had in Immortal difficulty. From the start, I was pretty isolated, and I likely should have re-rolled. That's actually incorrect. Isolated starts are better unless you're going for any sort of aggression or aggressive type civilization. Isolated starts mean that you can develop unperturbed by having to build defensive units. Typically, you only ever have to deal with barbarians. Back to the letter. It says, it's a small continent on and an island map on large. I was able to maintain pace with my local neighbours. Then I found Arabia and then Pericles. By turn 161, Arabia was at 228 science and Pericles at 174 culture. But what really broke the camel's back was how Saladin had settled the island I was going to settle on. Included are two saves, one from turn 161 and another from turn 108. Advice-wise from you, I would like to know what I could have done differently in order to not be so far behind. Maybe it was going for a religion. Thanks, and if you refer to me by name in the video, please call me HD. And then he just lists the mods that he used in his game. Also, please generally avoid using too many mods in your games if you're going to send them in. I don't mind if you have like a map pack mod and like a small gameplay mod. But if you're sending me a list of like 20 new mods that I have to install, I'm probably just not going to look at your save file. But this guy only had like 2 or 3 mods that I needed to pick up, so I was super happy to check out this save file. Now, there is a lot that I can actually talk about here. And honestly, he hasn't played too bad of a game. What this really boils down to me, is this guy is like, he's comparing his, his Tuesday to the AI's, wedding day. You know what I mean? Like you can't compare these things. These civs are designed to do this, right? Saladin is designed to get a lot of science. Pericles is designed to get a lot of culture. You can see he's actually on par with like most of the other quote unquote normal AIs that haven't had like incredible godlike games. So you're actually fine. The problem is you're in the exponential ramp part of like your civilization's power spike, and you're looking at it like, damn, I'm not strong yet. But like your strength comes in the next 50 turns. That's the thing. Over the next 50 turns, your empire will ramp incredibly hard if you're playing correctly. Now, there are a few misplays here that I do want to talk about, and I guess we will just start from the top of the list. The secret societies. Now, you went for, before I go to secret societies, you don't tell me how you're trying to win the game. And that's like, are you just pottering around? Are you just screwing around? Because you didn't say like, oh, I was going for a culture victory, or I was going for a science victory, or I wanted to do domination. And like, I'm getting a very mixed messages from your empire, because like if I look at this, you've got a holy site, you went for a religion, but you only built one holy site. But you're also building theater squares, and usually if you build theater squares, you want more holy sites because you want that late game faith. Or you want to find a way to get faith from like a city state or something like that. So you've kind of done like some very odd things. Like, and then you've also got campuses when you don't need campuses. Like, so the really fundamental thing here that I think is when I look at your empire, I don't see a win condition in mind. Because even if I look at your like government cards, this looks like a setup for a culture victory. Like you've got the extra production towards defensive buildings for the late game tourism from that. You've got extra settlers and then serfdom. Like this just looks like the setup for a mass expand, because you do actually have Ancestral Hall, which gives you the extra builder when you settle a city and makes your settlers, cheaper. And you've got 3 settlers of the ocean, and you got screwed out of this settlement location. But again, this was like overly ambitious by you and completely pointless. So yeah, I just don't get a sense that you're going for a particular type of victory. Like even your, one thing I will say though, getting Kilma, absolutely based, 100%. And like if I look through a few of your cities here in terms of wonders, like you got Colossus, that's cool. You got Apadana, you have Petra. I love the Petra city, that's incredible. Yeah, like, wonder-wise, I don't see, like Apadana, that more suggests to me like a culture victory. But you don't have any great writers, you don't have any great works of writing, you haven't bought any, you have huge money and you haven't bought any great works of writing. If I check the previously recruited, you've recruited an admiral. Like, you have here room for great works. You've room for at least 3 great works, if I recall correctly. and you just haven't used them. Like instantaneously, if I had my quick deals mod installed, I would be able to do this easier. Like we just go to Eleanor and say, hey, Eleanor, what's up? By the way, I want like all 3 of these. 64 gold per turn is nothing when I'm making 170 whatever. And now, boom, you've actually got room for another 4 great works of writings. Like, hey, give me 2 more, thanks. Who else has them? Usually Egypt. Yeah, all right. So like, boom. Yeah, we just spent like a huge amount of our economy here. But like our culture just boosted, and now we're actually generating tourism, which is our victory condition yield, right? If this is what it looks like you're going for a tourism victory. Now we're pumping tourism. Now we're making, progress towards our victory. And I get that kind of like mixed matched sense when I look around your empire, because sometimes you have theater squares and stuff like that, and there's a lot to talk about here. So I think the first thing we'll start off with though is the secret society that you went for. So I'm assuming again that you're going for a culture victory, and you went for vampires, and as far as I can tell, you haven't actually killed anything with these vampires. Like, they have no levels. Now maybe that's a UI bug from like reloading the saves, but these guys have 0 kills. It's a bit pointless to go for vampires if you're not going to use them to kill things. Ideally, you should have maybe killed Mongolia this game, or maybe, probably Mongolia would be your kill this game with vampires and like samurai or something like that. You just do a timing push, hit them hard, take them out, and then mass settle. Although the problem is that like the vampire play kind of works to get like free defensive early game units, but it doesn't look like you've used them at all. In terms of the vampire castle placements, these are pretty okay placements. I would maybe, this one here is fine. I don't know about that, should be a mine maybe. And then I would maybe put my second one here and surround it with mines. That would have been maybe a little bit better than over here, but these are fine. This is like great. Also, in terms of tile, Jutsu is working unimproved tiles, at least 3 unimproved tiles. So what I would maybe consider is like, maybe Nano doesn't need every single Petra hill, and maybe Jotsu could use this production a little bit more. Because like, if I look at this, that brought this down to 3 turns. The city now has what? 19.8 production versus, whatever it had before, 15.3. So that's like a significant upgrade to grab these two tiles, I think, for Jotsu. I get that you want to have like the Petrials all concentrated in the one city, but like, this city has options to work tiles other than those 2. So like, let it do it. Yeah, so secret society wise, that was just like a small optimization thing. Maybe a better pick for you this game would have been Void Singers. I do appreciate that you've kind of went for a ancestral hall, ancestral hall mass settler build. So the vampire castle could be a really great way to like figure into that. That works really, really well to do this. The problem is though, I don't see a plan for how you're getting your tourism. That's kind of the big fall down here. Like if we look at the appeal lens, there is some really, really great coastal terrain here for things like, seaside resorts. But just like you're building campuses and stuff. Yeah, it feels very it's like how to play the game, but you haven't like figured out what you want to do, and you haven't figured out what's the word I'm looking for? No, it's more like you're just a bit absent-minded. Like you played the game too long and you forgot what you were doing, and you just started throwing down campuses because it's like a really high adjacency, which is not what you want to do. When you're settling coastal cities, and you've done it down here in a lot of these cities, is you want to rush out the harbour and then get the trade routes out, because when you're working in a coastal city, it lacks so much value in terms of tiles that you almost need the lighthouse to not only just grow the city. Like, look at this. This city has 5 housing, and with a lighthouse, it will have something in the region of like 9. Let me just check that off the top of my head. A lighthouse gives you +1 base housing and another +2 if it's adjacent to the coast. So like, that's huge. That's 3 housing in here. That basically makes up for the lack of water. You'd be up to 8 housing. You'd be able to grow this city harder. Yeah, definitely any city that's on the coastline, like especially your capital, you should get your harbour first, unless you need to like rush out a holy site or a government plaza. For sure, go harbour first. Now, one key part of this build, you are doing internal trade routes, but you're trading in the wrong direction. is your problem here. You have Magnus established in your capital and you don't have surplus logistics. What you need to be doing is trading to your capital from your other cities. You have already a massive capital from these vampire castles. You need to leverage how strong internal trade routes are to your capital to boost the rest of your cities. Like if we take a look at your capital, in terms of districts, it's got 1-1 for being a city, 1-1 for having a government plaza, another 1 food, 1 food. So this is a 4 food, 2 production trade route. If we were to put Magnus in here, that would be a 6 food, 2 production trade route to the capital. I would even go as far as to say, as this holy site would have this theater square is a mistake. It should have been a harbor because your capital is now growth locked and it's going to be forever until you get your next district. You know, so many like little mistakes. I wouldn't have built this theater square. I'd like you built these theater squares and then didn't put great works in them. You have to imagine that like these empty slots, it's like a hole in your build. Like these are just empty slots burning a hole in your pocket. Again, I love the Kilwa build here. Like, why are you getting universities? What are you getting science for? You have shipyards unlocked and you've built them nowhere. The shipyard is the single most powerful harbor building in the entire game. So let me explain what the shipyard does. If we look here, you've got an adjacency of +4 on these cities. If you go ahead and you build a shipyard, this gives you bonus production equal to the adjacency bonus of the district, the adjacency gold bonus, okay? It also gives you +1 food and +1 production on all unimproved coast and lake tiles. So that's like the less important part. But if you had built a shipyard in here, right, that you can build, this is +4 production. Then you come over here, you tech up to naval infrastructure, you get the 100% harbor adjacency bonuses. Now that's an 8 production building, okay? An 8 production building that gives you food and also turns these into 2-1-1 tiles, right? Like just to think of it this way, you've spent all these builder charges building these absolutely god-awful farms, okay? These farms are doing nothing for you. These are 2 food, 1 production buildings, okay? So you're spending 2 food to get 1 production. That's awful. That's really bad. That's like terrible. That's like, it's probably like one of the lowest tiers of return on investment that you can get. But you can get that same investment without using builder charges from a coastal tile by building a shipyard. If you just get a shipyard in here, that'll be a 2 food, 1 production, 1 gold tile. It'll also get better even later in the game if you do decide to pick up seaports for another +2 gold. Yeah, seriously, like these farms are wasted tile improvements. Like just seriously ignore them. You want to build, your harbor takes care of the 3 core parts of developing a city. It takes care of your food, it takes care of your housing, and it takes care of your production. And on top of all that, it gives you a trade route which allows you to develop your other cities. Like, for example, if you had a trade route in like Totori, and then you trade to the capital from Totori, it grows faster, it develops faster, it builds its own lighthouse faster, then you get another trade route, you put that trade route in the next city that you settle, that city builds a harbour, you send that to your capital, and you do that over and over and over again, and you become like this ever-expanding mass of, like, you're like an amoeba splitting, you know what I mean? That's how you need to do it. So like I would instantaneously, the very first thing that I would do here is I would start maxing out my traders in places that are close to getting their lighthouses, and I would send those trade routes from these cities to the capital. My next governor title would instantly be going into Magnus. And the second I finish this intelligence agency, I would start cranking out more and more settlers until I hit the population limit to be able to throw down a harbour, and then I would instantaneously get that harbour to max rank as well. But like generally you're playing well. I will give you that. Generally you're playing well. You're just a few misplays here and there. In terms of your religion, I think going for a religion is fine. In a culture game, it's not necessary. It's good to go for a religion. The religion you went for is actually really, really powerful. If you're going for work ethic, you should be building holy sites. Especially if you have places like, if I come in here, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 5 adjacency holy site right there. Like, why didn't you build that? That is so much production, so much power. Yeah, the work ethic is huge. Pilgrimage is good. Religious colonization also great. Like these all kind of fit in your build. The only one that kind of stands out as weird is pagodas. I I would have maybe gone for, well, Gurdwaras were taken, but I would have gone for something other than that. You generally, what you want is for this building here is to either give you an ability that you can't access otherwise, or to give you something that you're lacking. So right now, if I take a look at your empire, you're kind of lacking on growth. Like, you don't have really good farms. I think farms on wheat, by the way, is totally fine, but like just raw farms on the ground that aren't in a triangle, terrible. You always want to put farms in a triangle, at least 3 farms all touching each other, because if you think about the return on investment, okay, let's say you have a farm on plains. You're getting 2 food and 1 production, but to work that tile, it takes 2 food. If you go to feudalism and you pick up, oh my god, if you pick up the extra +1 food from adjacent farm improvements, now you're getting 3 food, 1 production. So you've actually doubled the profitable yields from that tile. Instead of now getting just 1 production in profit, you're getting 1 production and 1 food in profit. So putting farms in a triangle doesn't like improve, like it literally doubles the value of the tile, is what I'm trying to say. It literally doubles the value of the tile. So these I wouldn't have even placed these. I wouldn't have. I would have just left them blank, to be honest with you. I would have just completely left them blank. One mistake I think you're making too is that like you're not comboing Japan's bonuses very well together. Like, you're putting districts next to each other, but what you really want to do is put like 2 different cities districts next to each other, because then you can build an even bigger carpet of districts. Tile improvement wise, I think you're doing generally a good job. I think, have you sold? You maybe could be selling off more of your luxuries and stuff like that. Now I know it looks like, but I've only hurt your economy for 30 turns, right? But we have diplomatic favor we can sell. We have strategic resources we can sell. Yeah, so in terms of what I would do going forward with this save is just to continue settling. Also, I want to talk about this settlement over here. It's turn 161 and you're planning a mausoleum. I'm sorry, mausoleum is an early game wonder. Like, yes, you could pick it up late, but I personally, Totori is a perfectly reasonable city to get it in. You could have put the mausoleum like right there, or maybe somewhere up on this side. Then you could have, pop down a couple, like a theater square next to it, and bum. Now you're off to the races. Generally speaking, you don't need to build campuses when you're going for a culture victory. You can get the vast majority of your science from getting culture, okay? You can get a lot of science from over here. Military research, if you build Renaissance walls in all of your cities, which later on also give you tourism from conservation, you'll get a bunch of passive science. If you grow a really big population by building lots of harbors first and then feeding those cities, you'll get a lot of passive population. Pingala can help you with your science. Popping Eurekas, because realistically, when you're in a tourism victory, the only technology you need in the entire technology tree outside of the early game, like once you pick up shipbuilding, the only thing you need to care about then is like upgrading your tile yields, like from mines, and getting computers for the 25% tourism across your empire. Everything else is just, pretty ignorable. So I'm going to play out a few turns here and see if I can get you to a place. Also, your tile improvement priority here is a little bit weak. I think going for a theater square here first is fine. But this is a 7 population city working 0 improved tiles. I'm sorry, but you just have not been making enough builders this game. Like over here, you've got relatively well improved cities. A lot of your cities do have a lot of improvements, but you're missing so many, and that's a big problem. Really, when I look at this empire, I see like a lack of planning. So let's just play out a few turns. Right, so I went and I turned on all of my UI mods to be able to better get a handle on the situation that you're in. So we're gonna go through and like kind of fix a few things. So the very first thing, like I did in the original thing here, is I want to go ahead and I want to sell off my luxury resources. Let's also see if we can sell off some strategics. There we go. Any Diplo favor we could sell off. There's a good deal on our Diplo favor. Who cares about Diplo favor? We'll also sell open borders to every single AI on the map. make sure that we buy some luxury resources from the AI. The quick deals mod, by the way, is amazing for managing your empire. You can also use it to kind of exchange gold with the AI. Like I'll get, I don't know what this ratio is. I don't know how this works exactly, but if you need like immediate gold, you can trade gold per turn. What I'm looking for is to purchase great works of writing for as cheap as possible. And it looks like the cheapest one I can get is from Victoria for 10 gold. And then the next one is 11 gold. And 11 gold. And I want to just buy these out until I can't buy anymore, okay? So I've just kind of retooled my economy slightly. I'm down a little bit, but I'm up significantly on culture now. Because if I look in here, we're generating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 more culture, 14 more tourism in the bank every single turn. Over in Nara, as much as this campus is awesome, I don't need a campus in here. I need a harbor. I need a harbor like yesterday. And there's a +4 harbor right there. Now this is also a +4 harbor once that campus finishes. So I'm going to put that right there. That's just like slightly better, slightly worse in the short term. I'm going to buy a trader in here to send to the capital to feed. I'll explain why I'm doing that in the near future. There's no more tiles to improve here. That's fine. So I think the principal thing you need to understand though is that you're not actually behind. You're doing fine. I think there's definitely somewhere in the universe we might go for a +5 holy site right there. And then another, why wouldn't we go for another +5 holy site right there? Also, another potentially good holy site right there, although it's a good tile, maybe not so much that one. But these are +5s. Like, why wouldn't you go for these +5s? These are great. Definitely worth picking up those +5 harbors. So in terms of where I would consider settling, it really depends on what your luxury resource situation is. I wish there was like a way to scan for luxuries that I don't have. So like if I'm finding a strategic that I don't have, like silver, I'm gonna put like a pin on it to remind myself, hey, this is an important strategic that I need to pick up. Do I have gems yet? I don't have gems. Like a great way to do this is to go to the oh god, what is that lens called? The continents lens. And basically, every continent only has 4 4 luxury resources that can spawn on it. So you can see here, Madagascar, it will only have 4 luxury resources on it. And it looks like it's wine, silk, salt, and jade. So those are the only 4 luxury resources that you will find on all of these green tiles. So what you want to look for when you're settling is you want to look for tiles. You want to look for different color tiles to pick up new luxuries. We've got silver over here. We've got diamonds. We've got tea. We've got 2 tea here. We've got more diamonds. Where's the 4th one? There's incense. You could pick up incense. So you want to be looking for those as a priority. There's even gypsum. Wow, that's actually 5. That is 5 luxuries. Unless somebody made one with like Maui or something like that. Wait, 1 silver, 2 diamonds, 3. Is this a different continent? Oh, this is Arctica. So even Arctica is its own continent with its own luxuries. Okay, that's what had me confused there. So this is obviously Arctica then, and so is this. Yeah, so I think with these settlers, I want to be looking for these luxuries that I can pick up like far, 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 far to the west. Like I don't want to settle Madagascar. So this island here was like, yeah, it kind of sucks that you didn't get what you wanted, but it was like an overly ambitious thing anyway. So like, who cares? Instead, we'll probably just get the mausoleum here. Like, who cares if it kills this really cool tile? Pretty soon we'll be able to plant forests and stuff like that. So I will continue to head west. Also, I believe you had a settler heading down here to pick up this coffee. Why wouldn't you just settle here? You remember, water tiles are worse than non-water tiles. So you want to minimize the number of water tiles in your cities. Obviously, you want to be coastal, but you want to avoid having too many water tiles because water tiles take a lot of infrastructure to improve. Whereas, like, if you look at a water tile, it's 1 food, 1 gold. What is this? 2 food, 1 production. 3 food, 1 production. These are just so much they're just objectively better at a baseline. I'll target myself for trade routes, and I will target melee units to get stronger, I guess. I don't know. Well, range units is like the defensive option. I usually vote for range units and myself. So I want to organize my internal trade routes by production, and now if I trade with my capital, I'm going to pick up 4 food and 2 production, which is a huge boost to this city, right? it was only producing, you know, 4 production. Now it's producing 6. I've literally 50% increased the production of this city. Also, I totally recommend, as a card when you're going super wide, I know you're building Kilwa, but the second this Kilwa is finished, we need to plug in the urban planning card. This 1 production per city is massive when you're settling new cities across the world, especially low production cities that don't have any real good tiles. Just some basic stuff to keep in mind. It's also really dangerous to send these settlers like this far out without an escort. You should totally be escorting these, because if a single barb appears and attacks them, that's just lights out for your settlers. It's okay to do-ish kind of sometimes, but like there tends to be like barbarian boats hiding in the fog of war waiting for like the exact moment that you're like the most vulnerable that you can be to snatch up your settlers. It's a dangerous thing to do that you're doing. Make sure you prioritize upgrading your bonus resources or harvesting them. Things like cattle, really good. +4 food means that the city is profiting 2 food, 1 production from working this tile. That's a really good profit ratio. We have a trade route in Kamakura. Nara already has its trade route. Let's put this one into probably Totori. We want to trade from cities to our capital. That's the direction of trade that we want to maintain. A cultural alliance with Kublai Khan. This is a totally reasonable thing to do. Now they'll go ahead, every time they send me a trade route, they're going to get culture, but I'll also get culture. It's okay to be behind at this phase of the game. If you're still behind at turn 200, that's where you start worrying. But turn 100 to 200, that's when you start climbing back up. That's when you start like ramping. So, you know, don't panic just yet. Like, you're fine. Now, we just finished the university in Jutsu. Shipyards, priority. It's honestly better if you just purchase the shipyard with gold. If we look at the city of Jutsu, we have options for a holy site. We could also get, I think the holy site option is the one I'm going to go for here. We can get it in 4 turns. It's half price. Remember, our holy sites as Japan are half price. It's a huge part of playing Japan is making sure that you're going for those half price districts like holy sites, encampments, and theater squares. Looking at the city of Kamiyakoa, tile-wise, it doesn't need many more improvements. I would think maybe we could go for a holy site in here. Maybe there's actually a better holy site in there. What if we were to go holy site in here? That's a +5 holy site right there. That's a pretty damn good holy site. And then we definitely want our trade route building. See, these districts should have been built here in a big cluster where they could have benefited each other, but instead they're like built over here in this random ass area. You want your cities to cooperate on building districts together. It's so important that your cities like touch each other's districts as Japan, because the entire, like, one of Japan's biggest bonus is that every district gets +1 adjacency from having another district adjacent to it. So like, you want to make sure that you're playing to that strength. I definitely feel like a holy site is on the cards here. Purchase. And I don't even care about optimizing for the chop here. Choptimizing, as one might say. I just want to get those holy sites down. We need late game faith production to be able to get things like national parks, to be able to get things like rock bands, to be able to win the game. So this is definitely a worry, this barbarian galley. We need to keep an eye on him. Is going to want a shipyard, but we'll go ahead and research naval infrastructure. I'll probably plug that in the turn after Kilwa, actually. So we'll continue on the humanism route. Like, you're generally playing correctly, but I think there's a few key mistakes. Now, when we're thinking about victory condition districts, for Japan going for a culture victory, you have your theater square, your trade district, and then what else do you pick up? What is the other district you want in a culture victory? It's probably an entertainment complex, a holy site, or a campus, depending on how you plan to win. Now, for Japan in particular, this is a really good spot for an industrial zone. And I haven't even started talking about city-states optimization, by the way, here. We have so many potentially huge city-states, like Ayutthaya. We should definitely be working on getting suzerainty of them. You don't even have your diplomatic quarter yet. This right here, perfect diplomatic quarter spot. I really wish you didn't have a theater square in your capital. You don't need it. I really wish you didn't. I'm going to have to go harbor and then diplomatic quarter, and this diplomatic quarter is going to be so late, we're going to get so little value from it, because one of the huge parts of the diplomatic quarter is that trade routes to to the city with a diplomatic quarter get +1 food and +1 production. It's huge. It's so powerful. It's so strong. So like the particular configuration of this city probably really lends itself well to going for a an industrial zone here. It'll hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hamada should have been settled 1 tile to the northwest. It's not a big deal, or well, it couldn't have been, but like, you know, it should have been 1 tile slightly different, but you know, it won't reach. Maybe there's a city state that can change that for us. No, it doesn't look like there is. Anshan is huge here. We should be looking for suzerainty of Anshan. Big time. Where is Anshan? It's all the way over here. We could very easily convert this city to get an envoy with it. Hold your horses. Let's grab ourselves 2 missionaries, and we just fire those off. Fire them off towards Anshan. That's a free envoy there for 400 faith that we just picked up. Well, I say a free envoy. It's an envoy we spent 400 faith to pick up. So the positioning on this lighthouse is a little bit weak, in my opinion. Again, when you're playing Japan, like I get that this is a +5 lighthouse. So is this. This is a +5 lighthouse once you put a district here. You know what I mean? And then this district that you've placed here picks up extra value from the harbor. You know what I mean? So yes, this is like, so like your placement optimization is good, but sometimes you want to go 1 point lower than what the most optimal is in the short term, because you're going to pick up an extra point of optimization later. Because now this is only a +3 campus in here or whatever, if we wanted to go for a campus. And going for campuses isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you do want to pick up Mary Leakey as Japan in a culture victory if you can. Also, another big thing, you're missing monuments. This is literally the most cost-effective building in the entire game, is a monument, okay? 60 production gets you 2 culture per turn. You will never, ever find a building that gives you such good value. And also, the unfortunate placement of these theater squares. If this theater square was here, instead of here, I could put an entertainment complex right there, and now this theater square, this entertainment complex is hitting 3 cities. Instead of now, if I build it here, which is now like the most optimal place for this city, it's only going to hit 2 cities, if even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, barely 2 cities. Very unfortunate placement on some of these. Now, you could also make the argument to go for encampments, but I think entertainment complex, it's how we get our tourism. You could also make an argument for a holy site in here. I probably would also strongly argue in favor of a holy site. Oh my god, the appeal map mode. This is a lens I've never used before. Very cool, very cool. We will just get off that for now. Markets, always, like traders, empire-wide infrastructure like traders are one of the most important things for you to go for. There's Kilwa, that gives us 3 envoys and gives us the suzerainty boost. We've also picked up naval tradition, so let's go ahead. We could swap out Gothic architecture because we don't need it anymore. We would love to plug in urban planning. We would love to plug in naval infrastructure, but we can't afford to plug both in. I think of the 2, I think we plug in naval infrastructure because that pays off better very soon. And what we want to be looking for here is to pick up as much raw gold in the short term as humanly possible by trading out strategic resources to other players. So if we could trade out literally anything we can to be able to buy our shipyards, that's going to be a huge advantage. We also finished the intelligence agency. We don't need an art museum and archaeological museum right now. What we need in here are to pick up 2 extra traders and then to continue to spam like settlers a little bit. So we'll do that, and then we'll go for the harbour once that city has grown. Like, look at this shipyard now with that card plugged in. This is an 8 production shipyard. That's like 2 extra mines in the city. That's huge. That's like having 2 extra population working mines. This building represents so much value. I will go ahead and hard build it in here. About 10 to 15 turns is when I start to consider building shipyards manually. Otherwise, I think that you have to purchase them. Oh, you got an entertainment complex over here. Well, that's good. You are kind of thinking in the correct direction. Which I super appreciate. I like that you're kind of thinking in the correct direction. Here, I think is actually where I'm going to pick up traders, and instead I'm going to let my capital just crank out 2 quick settlers here. Now, by picking up Kilwa, we picked up a bunch of envoys. Let's make friends with Anshan. Boom, boom. Confirm. Now we're up to 93 science and 115 culture. Which, remember, we started on something like, what was it? Like 60 science and 70 culture. We've, like, in the span of 4 turns, I've completely revolutionized your empire, essentially. Just by using a little bit of game knowledge. Also, you should totally have suzerainty of Bologna. This should be the +1 envoy the first time you send it card, which is what it's going to be in a matter of turns. Do I have a cheap tech I can research to switch to? Unfortunately not. We might have to switch out of monarchy. We need a way to generate faith. Yeah, so like looking through this list of city-states, I would say Zanzibar is a relatively high priority in the trade category. Also, we need to be putting... Dude, oh my god! You don't have your level 1... You're building harbors everywhere. You don't have your level 1s. This is 2 gold in every market and lighthouse. That is so much money per city. We need to actually spend the money and switch our government around here. 100% we pick up surplus logistics here. It allows our capital to grow faster, which makes us, you know, and remember, we're pumping food into the capital using vampire castles. So this 20% is multiplying on top of that, and trade routes we send to the capital get +2 food. So now these trade routes that we're sending to our capital, these are 6 food 2 production. These are huge. These cities are going to grow so quickly. And population gives you passive culture and science. These are massive ways that you can catch up into the game. We want to be stealing from Arabia tech-wise, or we want to be stealing gold. So we can either steal gold, it looks like the AI hasn't built any commercial hubs, or we can steal science. Or we can just look for, you know, we could look for great works. I think generally, I think stealing science is a totally reasonable thing to do. It lowers your dependency on actually having to build campuses. We need to help Mysuru grow, right? So we need to send food from Mysuru to the capital, because that city just needs help growing. I have the money, and I hate to do this. It's too expensive to do. I have to just hold on to my envoys for now. +3 era score on that holy site with 3 adjacency or higher. Beautiful. Probably should have already had that, but I think it was you built this one before it had the adjacency. So now we have a holy site here. Crank it away, an extra 5 production in this city, theoretically. A great source of faith for late game stuff. We could build a shipyard in here too. Boom. And then we'll do shrine, temple, all that jazz. Let's quickly build ancient walls. The galley. Yeah, you also need to... I'm going to have to do this, aren't I? Where is that? There was a... people here selling a caravel. Okay, I picked up a caravel. I'll have to use this to defend. It'll take a while for him to get there, but that's okay. I hate spending my money like that, but your lack of like defensive units. I'm playing catch up, right? That's the problem. Now this city has +6 food, by the way, by putting a trade route in here, which remember 6 food supports 3 population. This city has 3 more population to work these really, really productive, awesome tiles from a single trade route. Internal, so like, you know, internal trade routes are amazing if you utilize them correctly and you go the right kind of build. You were utilizing them to an extent, but you were utilizing them in the wrong direction. You were trading from your capital to other cities. You need to trade to your capital from other cities, because if you imagine what you're trying to do in this sort of like mass settlement Magnus in the capital build is you're trying to make the capital really, 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 really tall, and then have it pull all the other cities up around it. But what you were having is you were having the capital grow really, really, really tall with the vampire castles, and then also having the other cities push it even taller. But like there's a diminishing return to how big you make your cities, like a single city. So you want to spread that out just a little bit. Now we are going for a lot of settlers here, and there's a reason for that. It's because we have gone for a settling build, and we just get value. Like while there's open land, we can get value from it. It is very, very late to be settling, and it's going to take a while for us to get there, but I still think it's worth it at this stage because our build is like entirely designed around mass settling. I'm even going to trade from, like, I want to trade from I want to get a trade route in every single city, and I want to trade from every single city to my capital. Like, that's how hardcore you need to go. Now, generally speaking, my argument is you should never get more than 3 art museums in a game, and you should go for as many archaeological museums as possible. Unless you get them super, super early. Looking at this city, in terms of its development, I definitely feel like it's time for the city to get a little bit taller, like we're lacking housing in here, we should start building our ancient walls. So we're going to build our ancient walls so that we're in position to take advantage of urbanization when we get the military research card, and also conservation tourism. So, you know, we're kind of heading into the arc of like the strongest, most powerful part of our game, and we're just totally unprepared for it. First city grew to 10 population in our capital. That is beautiful. We're going to immediately slam down the harbour in that city. And even forsake building the settler to get that harbour up, because the harbour represents a massive amount of population room in this city. Wow, we don't have medieval walls unlocked? Oh man, we need to get that unlocked ASAP. Let's crack out. Remember, when you have downtime in your strongest cities, that's when you find time to build your traders. That's when you find time to build your builders. So I'm going to crack out a trader and a builder from the city. We just finished the lighthouse in Totori. It's a 24 turret on the shipyard. That's still quite reasonable, but maybe I need to start focusing more on my my theater squares. And you know what? There's a theater square here. Maybe we could go for the mausoleum in here. The city doesn't have enough production to really realistically get the mausoleum without a great engineer, which we don't have access to because we haven't built any of our really, really good industrial zones. One of the really powerful things about Japan is how good their industrial zones are. So, you know, we're in a kind of an awkward spot with regards to that. I would say, look, our theater squares are half price. Let's get a theater square in this city. Now that we have the harbour, we can save up money and buy this. We have 2 envoys in the bank. We want to hold on to those envoys. We need to hold on to those envoys. It is critical. We pop down another city. Boom, boom, boom. And first city on the continent of South Africa. We didn't pick up any luxuries here, but we did get a little bit of era score out of it. We can also grab that tribal village. Boom. There's the booster mercantilism. Amazing. Which means we can now instantaneously change our government. Finally. Triangular trade is huge. As is, like, a lot of these cards you can see are massive for us. But we are kind of pigeonholed here into plugging in one very key card. And that is Diplomatic League. We need that first envoy. This basically doubles the value of our envoys. God, I would love to plug in triangular trade. I think I'm at the phase now where naval infrastructure outstrips it. We could probably consider not settling anymore. We might be at like the tail end of when settling is good for us. And, you know, having said that, maybe the time to end settling is now. And instead we move into a triangular trade direction and start developing our gold and faith economy. Or we could pick up urban planning for that little bit of a production boost in all of our cities. That'll just make it so that like fresh cities will be able to develop their monuments and granaries sooner. So looking at this city, kind of planning it out, there's a coffee there, so probably going to look a little bit like Harbour, Theatre Square, into Water Park. That's probably going to be the whole city. That's like, this is the entire city. Maybe a holy site in the late game, but like 3 districts. You should plan every city to be around 3 districts, because that's roughly how long, like that's how much time you have to make districts. You can get about 3 easily, and three districts is when you get a city to 7 population. Anything above that is like, just, you know, you're winning. So I'll pick up Yi Sun Sin. This is a great admiral that instantly creates an ironclad. A great way to generate era score, but you know, otherwise it's just like useful to defend our settlers on the way to the far corners of the earth. I wonder what is the fastest way to get over here. We got our market at Hamada. That's another trade route. We definitely do want to be picking up our amphitheaters early for those great rider points, and the room for great works of riding, which we're going to continue to purchase. We're going to continuously purchase great works of riding, selling off literally everything that we have for the maximum instantaneous value, because we are looking for purchasing shipyards. So if I come in here now to, let's see, where is the city? Oh, you got a flood in here. That's bad. There we go. Maebashi, right? Maebashi's got a +5 harbor. I come in here. City's on 9 production. I come in here. I buy the shipyard for 1,000 gold. Boom. I check the city. Now it's on 21 production. I've over doubled the city's production from a single building. It's it's like the most insane powerful building in the entire game, and you didn't build them. You know what I mean? And the other big problem that we're missing is we haven't been making friends with city-states. Put 1 point into both of these. Look at our gold income. 125. Boom. 153. 2 envoys became 4 envoys and an extra 28 gold per turn. And that'll go up even more now that we're building our shipyards. We're going to be getting 4 gold per shipyard when we put another envoy into these places. Like, oh man, I may be like a little bit overhyped for, you know, your mistakes here. But I think it is good to emphasize just how good some of these things that you're missing out on are. We have castles now, so we can build our medieval walls. We want to finish square rigging and then pick up siege tactics for Renaissance walls. We got our holy site in Kamioka. I'm trying to think about where's like the least awkward place for a theater square. This is kind of an awkward city. And it's a 25 production city, so like we definitely should be building a theater square in here. We're sitting on another 2 envoys. Now, it's very sovereignty here that we could pick up that would be really, really useful to us. 1 point into Nan Madol. Oh my god, we're missing Nan Madol. One on a coastal game as Japan, you're missing Nan Madol? What are you doing? We put 1 point into Nan Madol, okay? Boom. There's 4 culture per turn. We put another point into Nan Madol. Boom. There's 70 culture per turn. We're up to this. Oh, like, look at this. These small, like, mistakes and oversights are, like, look at this. Who cares that Greece has 196 culture? I've got 199 culture, and it's 8 turns after, or 11 turns after you gave me the save file. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot you can do to optimize and choptimize and do what you need to do in a particular game. I hope this is educational, though. I want to get to a point where I am ahead significantly of the AI culturally and from a tourism standpoint. That would be, I think, ideal, because right now the AI is making 51 tourism per turn. I'm making 37, so I can continue to optimize here. All right, I forgot to buy great works of writing. Another cheap great work of writing, another cheap great work, and I'm stealing them from Eleanor, which is like great. Niccolo Machiavelli, we just got our first actual great writer of the game, but we have nowhere to place him. That's fine. We're going to think about where's our next theater square finishing. It's probably down in Kamioka. So I'll just teleport him down there. And when that great work of writing spot is finished, bada bing, bada boom. So I think Suzuka is missing a trade route to the capital. But we're hitting those trade route levels pretty well though at the moment, which I'm very happy about. And like you want to prioritize picking up, if you don't have good hills, get your lumber mills. Like just it's a safe bet. Get your lumber mills. We want to pick up though, we want to repair this and get the medieval walls. And then probably another builder. This is also the Liang city, so it is like the perfect place to do that from. We got the harbor in the capital. Boom, 2-turn lighthouse. Send a trade route out to Ashibe. Look at this, 6 production, sorry, 6 food, 3 production with a trade route to the capital. Like this is massive yields all across our empire by sending trade routes to the capital. Not from the capital, but to the capital. We found an interesting place to potentially settle. I definitely would like to pick up the gems here. Gems to me feel like the most important luxury that I could pick up in this expedition. So I'm thinking I could settle there. I could, oh wait, no, that's too close to Mexico because Mexico just formed. But Mexico just forming actually makes it a little bit easier for me to hit stuff with my industrial zones, my water parks. Oh wait, no, I can totally settle here because it's 2 tiles. Yeah, no, we can settle here. We'll do a harbor right there. Is there a better spot for a harbor? Theoretically, there's a better harbor. Right there, that's +4. Bada bing, bada boom. Really good adjacency over here. We pick up gems, or diamonds rather. I'm hoping one step into this land will reveal important information. Okay, so we're on like the edge of a desert here. I think this is an okay place to settle. We're just outside of the loyalty range of these people. Another flood? That is so rude. We have access to colonialism, which if we had played it slightly differently, we might have plugged in colonial taxes, because that does potentially represent a lot of production in gold. But we didn't quite hit the stuff. My 6 charge builder was killed by that flood. That is devastatingly annoying. To the point now where I'm just building a dam in the city. Like, that's enough for me to build a dam in a city. We have colonialism, and we want to rush straight to conservation to start picking up tourism from walls. And since we're rushing for conservation, now we want to start building our medieval walls. We want to start hitting those notes. We're sitting on 2 envoys, and I'm thinking about who is the most important people to have suzerainty of. It's probably Nan Madol and Tananarivo. Anshan is also critical here. Bologna would be amazing if I could get it. And I think I can. The nice thing about being suzerain of Bologna is that that's +1 great person point across all of our districts. So that's like just fantastic. Boom, drop down the city right there. Immediately drop the harbour to lock in its price, and then go monument granary in that order, because it's a freshwater city. If it's not a freshwater city, granary monument in that order. I have a video about why you should do it that way. Search for granary versus monument on YouTube, and you should be able to find it, no problem. Boom, amphitheater, Kamioka, tourism, we're almost there. We're almost top tourism, which I would consider us now ahead of the AI. 208 culture, 216 culture. You don't need to be beating everyone in every category. You just need to be beating everyone in one category. You need to either have the most culture or the most science. You don't need to hit both. As long as your science is around, as long as my science is around the middle of the pack, I'm fine. I'm fine. Especially if I'm going for a culture victory, I don't need a lot of science, right? Science is kind of superfluous to requirement. Another tip here, if you see a deer resource, unless you have a particular bonus towards building camps, you're better off harvesting the deer, boom, getting a free monument, and then putting a lumber mill on it, which is a better production tile. Now the deer is a better growth tile for sure, so there is an argument in place for that. Like, it's not a terrible thing to do, but I would definitely consider doing things the way I just did them. So we place the harbour. This is not a freshwater city. It only has 3 housing, so it's granary monument. And the reason we do it that way is, if your city has freshwater, what it needs is to expand its borders to find tiles to work. If your city does not have freshwater, what it needs is a granary to be able to grow population to work the tiles. And so that's why you change the order depending on whether or not you have freshwater. When we're in a situation like this, when we have coffee, when you have +1 food on your plantations, it's totally viable to chop your resources and then to put a plantation on top of them. I don't have another chop on this guy, so I'm just going to put the plantation down. But that's a way to get like a little bit of extra value out of those tiles if you have the spare chops. Right now, we're a little bit tight on chops, especially because my builders keep getting killed. But we just finished a shipyard over here in the city of Maizuru. Boom, 18 gold per turn, 32 production per turn. Look at the city, it's cranking. It is cranking out population. It's cranking on all cylinders. Continue to build traders while we have time, and then I'll probably go for medieval walls. I want to kind of carefully build up my infrastructure without neglecting anything too hard. In terms of what I want to do in this city, probably not worth it to get a holy site. So actually, holy sites are half price. I will build a holy site here. Now we want to pick up industrialization to be able to pick up +1 production on our mines, because we have access to Renaissance walls. And then once we have industrialization, we just click on computers. That's it. That's the only other tech we need in this entire tech tree is computers. Everything else can be ignored. Which is why we don't need a huge amount of science. And instead we need lots of culture. We need lots and lots and lots and lots of culture. We have 2 really productive tiles in here. That's going to help carry the city. Very happy about this city. Our shipyard got pillaged over here, unfortunately, but we will be getting a really nice industrial zone in the near future. So we'll repair the shipyard, then go for the industrial zone. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll get to take advantage of our electronics factory, possibly even more, depending on if we can get the extra range boost. It's probably soon to be vampire time, as far as I can tell. So we may want to set up for another vampire expedition. Although 1, 2, 3, 4, that's just out of range, so we'd have to wait quite a while for that to grow to it. Now, some of these late settled cities aren't going to be able to reach the capital. Takayama will be able to, which should uber boost the city. Like, I'm talking like skyrocket it in value, which is why when you're going for this like giga capital city build, it's actually totally valid to keep settling deep into the late game. Because these cities are just going to grow and produce so quickly that they'll actually come online and start to like crank our economy. 2 shipyards finishing this turn. This represents a massive boost in our economy here. And the world is entering into the industrial era, also a really important milestone. We get to pick a new thing. Now, we didn't get a golden age as far as I can tell. We actually did. We got a golden age. This is where you could pick up Hickson Dracones and keep settling. You could also pick up Reform the Coinage. Probably not better because you're not doing international trade routes. Heartbeat of Steam is okay. I think I would take Hickson Dracones here. And once I finish my Renaissance walls, I'd probably just start cranking out even more settling. We can get them in 4 turns here. Like, this city is insane. So I think I would like to buy my next shipyard over in Totori. Boom, there's a city with a +8 production shipyard, and then if I refresh it, it's working really, really good tiles. I'm sitting on 2 envoys. I'm going to put 1 into Zanzibar. Boom, to pick up that 4 gold. We're at 107 gold per turn. Click, 122 gold per turn. Click another one into Mogadishu. Boom, 136 gold per turn. The return on investment now from these buildings is like going up, right? 8 gold on this shipyard. Now, I don't want to hard build a shipyard. That's just like never fun. Theater squares, 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 theater squares. Always be building theater squares, okay? It's like a thing you should do. We can't quite actually reach the capital in Takayama, unfortunately. Well, that's a bummer. We could trade with Egypt, or we could just look for gold in here. Gold is also a valid way to use these. Sometimes you reach this like level of range and it's just, you know, you can't make use of it. I could probably trade with Nara. 1 food, 1 production is okay, and the city will develop over time to be better, and it'll also eventually give me a trading post here so I can actually reach the capital eventually. So that kind of a decision isn't the worst thing in the world. Let's go ahead and start tech stealing from Arabia. You did a really good job exploring this game. I will give you that credit. Like, you did an amazing job exploring the map. There's Signy, and we also met Muscat. Muscat does something with city with yeah, amenities from commercial hubs. Not bad, actually. Not a bad one. 1 amenity per city is like a big deal. Trade with the capital again. 6 food, 3 production. Boom, boom, boom. Capital is already back up to 12 population. Like, the rate of growth now in our empire is fantastic. Are you kidding me? You just like, I love that I love it, dude. I actually love it. I love that the AI, like, when a barbarian forms, of course it goes to me. We are ready for more great works of writing. We have extra room, so we will again go into the deal screen. We look to purchase great works of writing. 9 gold per turn, thank you. 9 gold per turn, thank you. We'll have more room next turn for Niccolo Machiavelli. Now that we have our shipyard in here, I think it's a totally reasonable thing now to go for the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus on top of that hill, which will also give us +2 culture to our theater square. Pop in those Niccolo Machiavellian things. We have room for a commercial hub. This city needs builders. The fact that my builder got smushed over here just made my life so much harder to actually, because like my plan was to bring that builder down here to Kamioka to repair the city and upgrade it, but we just, you know, we're never getting around to that. Our life is hard. Our life is hard. That's the problem. Now, in terms of settlers, we want to specifically be looking for places that we can settle that are not our capital continent. We have Hickson Dracones, so units can move very, very quickly, and we get +3 population when we settle a brand new city. So we've got 5 movement speed on these settlers out on the water. It looks like no coastal luxury spawned. Bit of a weird game if no coastal luxury spawned. Maybe that's a bug, who knows. Monument and Granary finished in Takayama. Boom, instantly push for the harbour. The harbour is the critical piece of infrastructure in the early game that we need to pick up. More great works created, more city settled, defending, constructing, building. Archaeological museum's going to take a very long time here to build in this city. Why is the city's production so bad? It's because it's lacking builders. That's it. Can't neglect builders. We need to get them. I would have liked to have brought those builders on board from a different city, but sometimes you just cannot neglect it. And sometimes it's also worth like hurting how quickly you're buying your shipyards, just to make sure that the city has like a reasonable number of improved tiles. Like, it has now 4 improved tiles that it can work away on as it slowly develops itself up. Really having those tiles in place and ready for the city to crank away on is quite helpful to helping develop those new cities. So there's a whole bunch of nonsense going on here. Okay, we'll hit them first. I'm going to make our way through here. Got a settler ready for, ideally, one of these new continents so I can take advantage. Like Antarctica would be a great place for me to settle to pick up incense as a luxury. Like right there, feels like a city. It's not a great city, but it feels like a place to pick up like 2 copies of incense and kind of lower my dependency on AI traded incense. Of course there's line infantry coming for me. Of course there's, and it's coming from me and not the AI, even though I'm, yeah, you know, these are the things you're dealing with. These are the things that you're dealing with. The bias on the barbarians. The barbarian bias, if you will, is insane. We have industrialization, which gives us access to the electronics factory, coal, and most importantly, +1 production on our mines. So now our Petra city is looking even more amazing. So we pick up 3 envoys from conservation, which is really, really nice. That'll let us kind of change our city-state status right now. I think I would probably consider putting 1 point into Venice to get control of that. Double check that I have suzerainty of everyone important. Yep. I still have Anshan. And then I would maybe put another point into Muscat, up to 155 gold per turn, up to 173 gold per turn. Also with conservation, we're now generating tourism from our walls, which puts us up to a healthy 64 tourism per turn, which I think now is the highest tourism. Well, we would be like next turn we finish these medieval walls. So now potentially, I think we are in a winning position now. As far as I'm concerned, if I were to continue to play this game, I could win it easily. Like it wouldn't even be a challenge with the retooling that I've done. We're already on the way to pick up computers. We have a, like we're in like kind of a weak position in terms of like just kind of like we had, like I had a bad, like it'd be as if I was playing like I had a bad game, but otherwise I think I'm in like a winning position. So I think I'm going to call that the end of my changes to the save file. We're at conservation now. All you have to do is sail it on home. Continue to build walls. Continue to develop your tiles. Continue to fill out your great work slots. The next step now is to get our archaeological museums, get our archaeologists. Next step is get everything to Renaissance walls, then get archaeological museums and archaeologists, then fill out as many seaside resorts as you can. Once you finish computers, make sure you have radio, or once you finish radio, start laying down seaside resorts. And then the very, very late game is the moment you have Cold War research. So we're saving up all of our faith right now. The moment you have Cold War researched, we switch into Reformed Church for 1 turn, okay, to get that 15% discount on purchases with faith, or like a handful of turns to buy as many rock bands as possible. And then we go into democracy to start getting trade routes, because pretty soon we're going to want to flip the relationship of our trade routes to start trading with the AI to get the extra trade route bonuses. So once we have democracy, we stop doing internal trade routes. We look for as many alliances as possible. We trade externally from like whatever city can hit another AI or whatever city can hit a thing. We just want to have like roughly 1 trade route per city hitting an AI or a city state or whatever it is. We switch into democracy. We aim for online communities, environmentalism, and stuff like that. So like this is like another 25% tourism. This is another 50% tourism on top of your trade routes. We want to pick up cultural heritage. Like it's all very, very easy from here. It should be a very, very easy win. The only threat you have is like a very slow Arabian science victory. Like he doesn't even have spaceports researched. It's almost turn 200. You've got this in the bag. You could easily win this turn 270. Like there's another 100 turns of the game left, but this is definitely doable. But I hope that shows you, because remember, I got this save file roughly turn 161, and it's now turn 188. So I've turned the save file around in about 27 turns, which is not a bad turnaround. And we're already in like what I would consider to be a winning position. Yes, we should be a little bit more ahead of the AI. We're not like as ahead as we should be, but I think we're in a winning position. If we continue to develop our empire along the lines that we have been, we'll be totally fine. If you want to send me more disaster save files, send them to PotatoMcWhiskey+CivDisasters@gmail.com, and make sure you include the word Big Chungus somewhere in the email, because that's how I filter out the spam from the rest of the world. Okay, I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.